Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. I hope your Friday is going well, and if it's not, I hope tonight's story time makes you feel better. Thank you so much for joining me for Storytime with Moonie, where I read short stories every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for littles in every community. You can follow me on Instagram at Moonie the Space Kitty, Moonie the Space Kitty SFW, or Storytime with Moonie. The only difference between the profiles are the tags that I use. Through the profiles, you'll have access to the items I sell in my little shop. Now grab your stuffy and get real comfy. Tonight's story is The Little Mermaid. Long, long ago, a mer-king lived under the sea with his 6 mermaid daughters, who all had long, wavy hair and sang with sweet, heavenly voices. The mermaids loved their watery world, but they liked to hear this wise sea king tell them stories about the world above the sea. "Oh, Father, tell us about the cities and the trees and flowers," they would cry. "When you are 21, my little ones," their father would say, "you can go to the surface and see all these wonders for yourself." One by one, the sisters got their chance to visit the surface. At last, it was the turn of the youngest sister. The little mermaid swam up through the crystal waters to the ocean's surface with great joy in her heart. Close by was a big ship. She could see people on the deck throwing a party for the prince who was on board. The little mermaid couldn't keep her eyes off the handsome prince. As she swam closer for a better look, the sea started to swell, and a strong wind whipped up. "Oh no," cried the little mermaid, "a storm is coming." Suddenly, as the ship was tossed from side to side, the prince was thrown into the churning water. He began to sink beneath the waves, and would have drowned had the little mermaid not dived down to rescue him. Swimming close to the land, she gently pushed the unconscious prince onto the beach. His eyes flickered open for a few seconds, and he smiled before closing them again. As she swam away, she glanced back at the shore. A group of people had gathered around the prince. They helped him to his feet and led him away down the beach. The little mermaid dived beneath the waves and swam back home. The little mermaid longed to see the prince again. She became so sad that eventually she told her sisters about the prince, how she had fallen in love with him. "I know where his palace is," said her oldest sister. "I'll show you." After that, the little mermaid swam to the surface every day. She gazed at the palace, hoping to catch a glimpse of the prince. "Father, could I become human if I wanted to?" she asked the king one day. "The only way, my little one," said the king gently, "is if a human falls in love with you." But the little mermaid could not forget the prince. She decided to visit the sea witch. "I can make a potion to make you human," hissed the witch, "but I will take your beautiful voice as my payment. If you win the true love of the prince, only then will you get your voice back." The little mermaid loved the prince so much that she agreed. She swam to the prince's palace and drank the potion. She fell into a deep sleep. When she woke up, she was lying on the beach, dressed in a beautiful gown, where her shiny tail had been. She now had a pair of pale human legs. The little mermaid tried to stand, but her new legs wobbled and she stumbled on the sand. As she fell, 2 strong arms reached out and caught her. The little mermaid looked up. It was the prince. She tried to speak, but her voice was gone, and she could only smile at her handsome rescuer. The silent, beautiful, and mysterious stranger fascinated the prince. He grew very fond of the little mermaid and spent his afternoons with her around the palace and on the beach. One day, the prince told the little mermaid that he was getting married to a princess. "My parents want me to do this," he said, I am so sorry. He sighed sadly. "But I love another girl. I don't know who she is, but she once rescued me from the sea." The little mermaid was devastated, But without a voice, how could she tell the prince that she was that girl? The prince now took walks along the beach with the princess. The little mermaid could do nothing but watch from afar. Every time, the little mermaid became more and more jealous as she saw the prince smiling and laughing. But deep down, she knew his heart didn't belong to the princess. A few days before the wedding, the prince asked the little mermaid to take a walk with him along the beach. "Once I'm married, I won't be able to spend any time with you," he told her. The little mermaid nodded sadly. She had been dreading this happening. As they walked across the sand, a fierce wind suddenly whipped along the shore. A huge wave crashed over the prince and the little mermaid, washing them out to sea. Without thinking, the little mermaid dived beneath the churning waves and grabbed the prince. As the prince lay coughing and sputtering on the sand, he stared at the little mermaid. "You're the girl who saved me before," he cried. "I remember now." The little mermaid smiled and nodded. "I can't marry the princess. I love you," he sighed. "I don't care if you can't speak. Will you marry me?" The little mermaid had never felt so joyful, and as the prince kissed her, something magical happened. She could feel her voice returning. Bubbling with excitement, she cried out, "Yes, I will marry you." The happy couple were married the very next day. The little mermaid's dreams had come true, but she never forgot her family or that she had once been a mermaid. The end. Thank you for letting me read to you tonight. I hope you feel safe and I hope you feel loved. Good night, little ones.